Oh, there we go. Okay. It is Sunday. And as part of today's homily, I have to ask you this riddle and you have to answer it. When is a blue district not a blue district and why? And we're going to get into the ugliness of politics and all the good stuff that it could possibly bring, if that's even possible anymore, today on the rotation. Let's get into it. By the way, we have a substitute engineer today.
Yes, I am the substitute engineer. I'm really there. We go. I got it.
I don't mind that you messed up my timing, but that's good. That's good. Good morning, guys. It's an interesting time to be alive because we're into the primary season. It's heating up, and it's heating up to every degree you can imagine. And we have a candidate here we're going to discuss with you who has come from a district which has been aired, so to speak. And we'll get to that in just a minute. My name is Gary Stein. I am your political director, policy director, and master of business of public health for Suncoast Normal. And insert applause here. That works out just fine. And coming to us from someplace in Appalachia, possibly looking for the ex-governor of North Carolina that he's walking by with his whoever, is our executive director, Chris Cano. Chris, how are things up there somewhere near Dollywood?
Oh man, I would say this much: when you're in West Virginia, the dispensaries are slim pickings. There's no adult use, so Maryland's your closest adult use state with legal sales, especially after the governor of Virginia vetoed the adult use sales bill. So bring your own bud is the best thing you can say when you're hiding in the mountains. But it's beautiful and it's peaceful and when you piss off enough people in the federal government, it's a great place to hide out.
Well, it's good to know that politics is making you safe, right?
Safe house, yes.
Now, we discussed a few moments ago, and it was all about the saga of House District 63, right?
64.
64. Sorry about that. Which encompasses a fairly strongly Hispanic neighborhood here in Tampa. And it was pretty much a solid blue district for a long time. I mean, there was, Chris, you ran in that district, right?
Yeah. So, the district you're talking about, Gary, has traditionally been West Tampa and Town and Country, the surrounding areas. It's the first district that had a Latino representative in the state of Florida under Elvin Martinez. And then, we had a series of other Latino reps like Bob Henriquez, who's now the property appraiser and considering to run for mayor. We had my mentor, Michael Shanti, who I interned in the Florida State House under him. And then, we've had Susan Valdez, who was on the school board. In 2018, her and I ran against each other in the Democratic primary, and she edged it out and won. And then, most recently, she decided she was, at the end of the last election in 24, she was going to run for chair of the Hillsborough Democratic Party. And the party activists and folks in there decided to go in a different direction. And I guess she didn't like that. So she switched out and switched parties. And that was ironic to take probably one of the most solid blue districts in the state and said, you know what, forget partisan politics. I'm going to go to the other side, see what I can get done. And that didn't sit well with a lot of people. And
that's got to be probably one of the most partisan things you could possibly do.
Yeah.
Is to switch parties, because the people who voted for you, and I tell people all the time, vote person, not party. You have to widen your horizons, because there are some people on the other party you might just like more than the people who are running in their own party. It just happens. But here's a situation where people went to the polls, they voted blue, and then when it came time for that person to be in there, all of a sudden they jumped ship. They jumped sides.
Well, Gary, one of the things that really struck out to me was that what happened in 2018, and then Susan sitting in that seat for so long, really showed me that we need to do better with how we have these winner take all primaries, because you can have someone that's not elected by a majority of voters in their own party, and they could sit in a seat for upwards of 8 years. A small minority of people in a district are the only ones ever casting the ballot. They're changing it in other states and other cities. There's ranked choice voting. There's runoffs to where you have to get at least 50%, and you'll have a runoff election 2 weeks after that. So there is some things we could do better in Florida, rather than gerrymandering districts and going through this partisan rigmarole. We can make sure that we're enfranchised. I mean, we still have closed primaries in Florida too. So there is arguments on all sides of the board, but the facts are the facts that a small minority of Democrats elected her to be in office. She sat in office for almost 8 years, and then she decided to flip parties when she wasn't happy with the fact that she didn't get to lead the party herself. And that says a lot about a person's character, and whether or not they're qualified to run, which kind of segues into the great guest we have today, who's a man of integrity, a man of honor, and service has been in his blood for a long time. So, Gary, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce our guest today.
Okay. Well, as you know, we have as close as we can come to a jungle primary coming up for this district, because we have a whole bunch of people who are basically running on the same side. But sometimes primaries are like family fights. You know, you don't want to get involved, but that's the way it sometimes comes. But Luis Antonio Salazar.
That's right.
has thrown his hat into the ring to go ahead and right this ship, as it were. Luis, first off, I want to thank you for coming on the show and ask you, what made you decide to run in your district?
You know, I get asked that question a lot, and it's always about service. I really feel that this is a calling for me. I feel that this is my next step of advocacy. I've been working in my community for over 10 years here in Tampa, and 10 years before that when I lived in Arizona, and really making it a mission of mine to help my community grow and learn about what it is that they can do to make their lives better. I've worked in nonprofits. I've worked with voter registration, petitions, helping young people learn about why it's important to even show up. And this is it. This is how we do it. I've seen the legislators you just named, a lot of legacies that held this office, and great people that really worked hard for this office. And I want to continue that work. I want to continue having Puerto Rican Day. I want to continue having a resource day for our Latino community. I want to continue to make sure that the kids in our community have jobs that they can live and stay in the community by their families. As Latinos, you know, I don't know, well, maybe not you, Gary, but we stay close to home. We like, you know, we went, especially if you're the youngest child. I'm the youngest of three, and it's very rare that like someone like me go far from my family. And I moved to Florida because I wanted to, believe it or not, get away from shoveling snow in Arizona. But it's my mom begs me every single day to come home, you know, and it is something that is in our blood, and we want to be close to our family, and we want to make sure that we give young people the opportunity to do that. Not only that, but our community here in 64 deserves a Latino representative that speaks Spanish, one that they can communicate with directly, and one that's going to put in the work, right? I'm in this because I want to be a public servant to my community. I don't want the title's great. I love it. But being able to be in Tallahassee, creating policy, bringing funds to the community, making sure they have the ability to thrive. I've been doing that for free for 20 years. Now I have an ability to do it with some oomph.
Now, not that you can get into anybody's head specifically, but why would Sue Valdez, who, you know, with her background in the school board and everything else, why would she go ahead and change parties at the end of her term?
I'm not going to make any excuses for Susan. That she had to do what was best for her. She has been a friend of mine for many, many years, and I know her well. I do have to, I mean, you have to look at what our party looks like right now. In Tallahassee, we just gained another seat. So in the House of Representatives, there are 34 representatives in the Democratic caucus. Of those, only 2 are Latino. In a state that is a majority Latino, we're the largest minority, and we're also the largest voting bloc. Susan was not feeling the respect. And I get it. I've seen it. I live it myself in this party. I know how we get pushed to the back burner. I went to a budget committee meeting at the FDP a few months ago, and they set aside $100,000 to reach out to Latino voters. Meanwhile, the Republican Party is spending $7 million to reach out to Latino voters. We are not a priority right now in that party, and we need to make sure that representation is there in order for us to become the priority. This session is going to be probably the largest freshman crew that goes in there, and I want to be part of that. Now, Susan's going to continue being Susan. We know who she is, and I think a lot of people misunderstand Latino voters. Like you said, vote person over party. I think a lot of Latino voters, especially the ones I've been speaking to, are that way. They vote for someone because of loyalty, right? What are you going to bring to my community? How are you going to work for me? And some people can do it and some can't. And I think Susan's been successful in that and working for her community. I know she's a pariah. Not many people like her, and especially in Democratic circles, and as Chris was saying, it's a small minority of people that actually vote for whoever sits in the seat, right? It is very few people that get to make that decision, depending on turnout, especially in special elections, and in the municipal elections, they're even lower turnout for voters. And it's important that we start motivating people to get out and vote. I have been doing that work. I've worked I was president of the Hillsborough County LGBTQ Democratic Caucus, and in that role, we would go out year round. And when I say year round, it's not like the FDP year round. We actually did it. We were in our communities. We had 4 events a month. We'd be in the community. We'd be walking the streets. We'd be knocking on doors, talking to people, getting them excited about voting, getting them excited about what change can look like. And we were able to increase voter turnout by 20% in some cases.
What entices the Hispanic population to go out and vote as a cultural norm?
I think a lot of it has to do right now is the affordability crisis, what we got going on. Right now, when you're paying $4.50 a gallon for gas and you're driving a kid to soccer practice, and you're gonna have to make a decision of like, well, maybe he's not gonna be able to play soccer anymore, or she's not gonna be able to play soccer anymore because I can't afford this gas. This gas is high, food's high. The affordability and is a major factor in the Latino mind right now. It is also, like I said, what are you going to do for me? How are you going to make small business better? The largest entrepreneurial force in this country is immigrants, not just Latinos, immigrants across the board. People think entrepreneurs are these big tech guys that make billions of dollars with crypto and AI. In reality, it's the guy with the hot dog stand in the corner, or the taco shop, or the dry cleaner. These are the backbones of our community that we have to support. I believe also that we need to start teaching Latinos about unions, right? Why unions are strong, why unions can help them get better paying jobs. You can get paid while you learn at an apprenticeship at a union. These are the things that we have to start educating our community about. Because in order for us to come out of the shadows, right, to not be only 2 representatives in the state house of our party, we're going to have to start educating our community of why it's important to be in the room. Latino voters are also concerned about immigration. It's a major issue. They are scared. I see in my community people that are still afraid to leave their home. This is not a joke to them. This is their life. Their families are being taken away. Also, we have a major issue with language, right? We're banning Spanish across the state in Florida. In my district alone, in West Tampa, the heart of the district where everybody votes, and this is the most beloved place that we're trying to preserve and save. There are people with holes in their roof from 2 hurricanes that happened almost 2 years ago. And when I go knock on their door and I ask them, because that's what we got to do, we got to be on the ground, knocking on the door, talking to them and asking them. They tell me, I mean, I didn't know there was a program. Nobody ever told me. I didn't know. Nobody reached out to me. A lot of it has to do with that they only speak Spanish, right? Or that they are just not aware of the resources that are available to them because nonprofits are getting their funds cut back as well. So that's how policy is usually distributed in neighborhoods. But the nonprofits go out and educate the community. You know, this is a function. This is a functional government, and for us to be in order to have a functional government, we're going to have strong nonprofits, because this is how community it grows, right? By denying people access, we keep them poor. And that's what's happening in Florida. We're keeping people poor. We're keeping them uneducated. We're tearing down community colleges to build stadiums. You know, this is the reality of it.
It just seems to me that we have a situation where we have at least one party that's trying to switch the narrative to say that anybody who's has a browner skin or who speaks more Spanish than English is all of a sudden an undocumented criminal. And I every time I drive down 75 and I see Border Patrol parked on the neutral ground there, I'm saying, what are they doing there? There's no border near here that they're guarding. Why are they there? But it seems like we've gotten our highway patrol weaponized.
Absolutely.
To do the work of ICE. And that tells me a lot about where people's mindset is at right now. And it's the wrong mindset.
It is. And I have a very unique, I guess, life that I've experienced this. I grew up in Arizona, 30 minutes from the border. It was not uncommon from my kitchen window to open it and see a green and white Border Patrol truck parked on the corner, waiting for people to cross. I myself, as a young man, playing in the desert. Now, I don't want anybody to get any ideas of doing this themselves, but when we were kids, one of the greatest passages was when we were about 6 or 7, was getting a BB gun for Christmas, and we'd go out in the desert and play war, and we'd shoot each other with BB guns, right? And it was just what we did as kids. We're out playing in the desert, and I would find people. I would find people in the desert. So I know very well what Border Patrol is. I know very well what ICE is. Arizona also is the birthplace of the Minutemen. I don't know if you remember them or not. You know, that was the precursor to MAGA. And this is not a new thing for America. This is the only difference now is you're getting it shoved in your face. Now you're driving down I-75 and you're getting that Border Patrol car shoved in your face. You're getting people dragged out of their houses, dragged out of their cars. This is what's the reality on the U.S. border for 30, 40 years. Now
it must be a deja vu for you to go from Maricopa County and Joe Arpaio and his racist attitude to Florida to see it's happening over here again.
It is. It's really interesting where Florida is now was probably where Arizona was in like around 2009. We had a lot of driving while brown laws. We had a lot of trying to get people to open carry in schools. And Arizona's, I mean, they have a Democratic governor. It's becoming in the area where I grew up, which was actually Pima County, is the southern part of Arizona. We have a very blue county. And it's always been pretty blue, but there is still the influx of racism. There's the influx of they are others, right? And what's weird to me here in Florida, and is that Latino culture has been here for hundreds of years. This was a Spanish colony, whether people want to admit it or not. It was the oldest city in America is a 500-year-old Spanish settlement. And we are still just not grasping onto that. This is the big melting pot. This is a society where we all have a part in it. And a lot of it has to do with representation. It is. We are seeing it day to day in every level of government. Tampa City Council, fortunately, has, I believe, 4 Latinos that are voted in there. We got Luis Vieira, Guido Maniscalco, Charlie Miranda. So three, right? That's pretty big. We need to have more representation all up and down. We are the largest group in the state, yet we are not. Our voice is either diminished or we're set aside. Funding is not given to us. And I mean, I didn't set out to be the anti-establishment candidate. I want to make that very clear. My party and people have made me that, but I didn't set out that. I literally just go out and I speak the truth, and that hurts people's feelings because the truth is something that we do have to face. There is a problem. The Democratic Party is a problem right now, and the only way to change and move forward is to face it and evolve. There is a lot of people in our party that don't want to. They just don't. And it's just the way it is. And I mean, look at the dinosaurs. They didn't want to change and they went away. So right now we're going through a transition. And I believe that is very important that we as the young leaders, and I'm not even that young. I'm living for a future for people that come after me. I'm creating a future for them. But we need to be at the table creating what this party is going to look like for the future. Because right now, what we have and the people that have been in charge of this party have created nothing but chaos across the board. And when I talk to people in my neighborhood, they see Republicans and Democrats as equally as evil. They're equally as bad. They don't like one, they don't like the other. Because for decades now, both parties have been making promises to working class people, to people that come home and after a long day of work, eat dinner, rinse and repeat, go back again, do it the next day, and then maybe go on a vacation once a year, want to get their kid, their first child into college, right? Like similar to my family. That's how I grew up. I grew up in a working class family where my parents worked very, very hard so I could have a good life, so that I could be the first person in my family to graduate from college. So this is happening. That demographic of people have lost faith in both parties. And as a Democrat, I find that is not a good deal, because we are the party of the working class. We are the party of healthcare. We are the party of education. Yet we live in a state where education is the worst in the whole country. That should be embarrassing to us. That should be embarrassing that we live in a state where teachers don't earn a living wage, where the governor has literally said that he is going to wage war against teachers' unions by allowing them not to organize, right? So there's a problem here. And a lot of times you have to look at yourself and say, maybe I'm part of it. Right? Maybe what do we change? What do we go left instead of right? Do we start bringing in different people? And that's where we're at right now. We need to start voting differently. We need to start picking different leaders. We need to stop with the status quo. We need to stop picking people because it's their turn to get elected. No, that's not how it works. This works from the bottom up, not from the top down.
Politics is a weird situation because so many people stay in their office long after they really should. I mean, we tell folks, at a certain time, it's the right time for you to retire, leave on top kind of situation. Charlie
Absolutely.
Miranda, I love the guy, but he's been in office like almost forever.
He was the
Since
first
1972, I believe.
Charlie Miranda was the first candidate in the history of Florida to qualify for the ballot by petition. We have a petition process for candidates, for grassroots candidates, because Charlie Miranda did that all the way back in the 70s.
That's awesome.
And again, you're right, Gary. People do have a long legacy in office, a lot of institutional memory. But you're right. At a certain point, where do you groom the bench? Where do you groom your successors? Where do you hand the reins to the next generation? Because, Luis, to your point, I saw on the Hill recently, it was probably a couple weeks ago. The article struck me out so much, I sent it to Nikki Fried, and I was like, I'm gonna leave this right here in your DMs and not say anything else. But it said Latinos are souring towards MAGA, but they're not looking at Democrats as an alternative choice. They're not warming to them either. And so when that really stuck out to me, and then you're telling me, hey, the party has X amount of dollars that they're putting into Latino outreach. And then on the other side of the aisle, they're putting in exponentially more dollars. That is definitely something that lets you know, well, who's the priority? Because I have heard this same critique and criticism of the Democratic Party from our friends in the Black Caucus, and they continue to say, like, it feels like our community is not a priority, and I think that this is definitely something that needs to be addressed. There are a lot of great grassroots candidates who champion pro-working policies, and the establishment sabotages them at every corner because, you know, their policies counteract with the people who the establishment is fundraising off of. You know, and when you start messing with rich people's money, now you become a problem. And they do everything they can to run you out of a race or to run you out of office. And this is what we're seeing across the state from a lot of great working class champions. So I have to ask you, man, where are you, you know, like, how do you set yourself apart when it feels like not only do you got to win against the people across the aisle, but you got to win within your own party and they're stacking the chips against you?
Correct. No, and you're 100% right. Right now, the party is raising money to pay salaries, and they've been doing that for a while. Right now, the people, the major donors, the people that have always had control, right? The ones that have relationships with the people that are elected, that to have that control, they're scared because they're seeing that money isn't buying them elections anymore. Money isn't buying them access anymore, and that working class people like Brian Nathan are getting elected, right? They don't have the in anymore that they used to. Well, you know, I'm going to keep you elected. The way we set ourselves apart, and the way I do set myself personally apart, is I relate with people. I know what it's like at the end of every month to be like, man, am I going to make rent? And what bill do I have to shuffle? Am I going to shuffle my electric bill this month so I can pay my cable and then pay the electric next month and then skip the cable? What am I moving around? And I talk to people about this stuff. I tell them about what I'm going through and relate with them because they're going through it too. I'm not ashamed to say that I have to go stand in a food bank line to subsidize my vegetables to get meat. Right? Dang. That is a reality. And when I go there, I see other people like me in nice cars and people that are struggling and really facing the affordability issue, that government is failing them. And that's when you look around and you go, man, something's not right here. Something is going real south. How is it that our leaders have lost touch with these people that are going through these issues right now? Right, where they all talk about, you know, affordable housing. They all talk about how they're going to fight hunger, fight for education. What are they actually doing? Right.
Well, you know, it's interesting because in other states, you know, I've gotten out of Florida. I haven't been like full time in Florida since 2019. I've been traveling across the country, working in various states, and I see how other states are doing things. One of the things that really struck out to me in Maryland was they have a public financing system for candidates. And it's like, if you don't take PAC dollars, you know, you only fundraise off of individual private citizens. They have public financing. I mean, I see candidates build $1 million war chest by getting, you know, $200,000 in small contributions from everyday working people. And those people are owed, you know, their loyalty to the working people that put them there, not to developers, not to millionaires and billionaires who want to
buy lobbyists.
The lobbyists, yeah. And so, you know, I see these things between ranked choice voting, between public financing. There are ways to improve our elections. And Florida seems to be the lab for all the bad things that could go wrong in our democracy. You know, everything from you know, gutting unions. You know, you talked about it. I remember building teachers unions at the various colleges and universities for over 2 years in the state of Florida. And while I was running in 2018 for this seat that we're talking about, and it really struck me as like having conversations with you know, professors who were from Cuba who are now living here, trying to make a better life for themselves, and teaching at Miami-Dade College, and, you know, explaining to them, hey, unions here are not like unions there. No one's putting a gun to your head. You can sign this card by your own volition and join with your colleagues. It's all a democratically elected process. And we're literally gutting democracy in the workplace in the state of Florida right now. We're banning knowledge. The other day I looked, half of the classes that I took at University of South Florida, like racism in American society, are illegal now to teach.
Mm-hmm.
And that is because Ron DeSantis has done a very successful job at what Gary said earlier, at pointing the fingers at our community and at other people's and saying they're the problem, not him putting a whole bunch of developers and PAC donors on the Fish and Wildlife Commission, not Wilton Simpson as ag commissioner, allowing his donors to pollute the environment and looking the other way. And then, people don't have clean water. They don't have affordable electric bills. And then somehow in the problem of all this, it's teachers and the Latino community and African-American community are the problem. Immigrants are the problem.
And books.
Yeah.
They
and
really
books.
hate books.
Yeah.
They really hate the books. And look, I am in no way naive. I know that the party is not going to do anything for me. I know that developers are probably not going to support me and major corporations aren't going to support me, because I'm talking about saving unions, and I'm talking about standing in food bank lines, and I'm talking about the realities that Americans are going through right now. And they can't take it. I don't know what they're so afraid of by people speaking the truth. They'd rather sit and talk about this in dark rooms and try to control who's going to run where, because they're the ones that we can have the most leverage over. The biggest problem that we have in Florida right now, and they're kind of like a necessary evil, are the consultants. It's like, which vampire do you want to suck blood from you today, right? Like, who are you? And you got to have one. Like, and you're like, they're all just it's insane the prices they charge people. They run the party. Think about it. The Democratic Party has their number one consultant is the Lincoln Party. Republicans. What happens when Donald Trump leaves? Are they going to still continue to support us as Democratic Party, or what's going to happen?
That is one benefit of having a campaign of culture. That when the cultural head falls, sometimes the entire party falls because its infrastructure gets crumbled.
It does. And
now you were asking how Hispanic I was. Well, I do drink coffee con leche every morning. That's where I started out. But I also, when I was
Bustelo doesn't count, Gary. We had this discussion. That is a gentrified brand.
This is Cafe Bustelo. Okay, this is as close as I get. But I couldn't help noticing I was an AFSCME, and we're all union folks here. And when I worked for the state, I worked for AFSCME. And when it was the first time I had a chance to go to Tallahassee, and I went to the meeting for everybody to gather up there, and I thought I was at a LULAC meeting. I noticed that a large majority of the people in AFSCME over here in Hillsborough County, the local head was Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that a lot of Hispanics were in unions, and I found that kind of interesting. Yeah, I didn't see that as coming, but do you see that as well?
I do. I see that we are the unions I've been to, and I've been to quite a few because I want to learn. I came from a right to work state. My dad was an electrician. He was not in a union. I saw how very easily he was taken advantage of. Opportunities were taken away from him. He wasn't paid for jobs. He was fired for no reason. And when the first union I went to was the IBEW here in Tampa, the Electrical Workers Union. And I was just taken aback because this is such a wonderful program, the apprenticeship program that they have there. And I'm thinking to myself, man, if my dad had this opportunity, where would my future be? Where would I be right now if my dad was just given an opportunity? I also served in the U.S. Navy, so I understand all too well what it is to have a brotherhood, what it is to have people help you up, not give you handouts, but actually help educate you, help teach you how to make money, help teach you how to get health insurance, help teach you how to get the basic necessities of life, how to get clean water, how to buy a home. I'm 44 years old. If I bought a home right now, I'd be paying a mortgage into my 90s. You know,
if they let you qualify, if you got student loans like me, you ain't getting a mortgage. They look at that $500,000 of student loans, they're like, forget it.
Yeah, student loans is another issue. I went to college and I graduated with $50,000 in debt. That was in 2014. I now that $50,000 has now turned into $80,000, right? And I'm never gonna be able to pay it back. Unless I win the lottery or magically I have some relative that has millions of dollars that I inherit, and I'm Mexican, so that's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? So it's it's just not going to happen. I'm not going to be ever pay. I'm never going to pay off my student loans. And that's just the reality of it. I could pay the minimum payment, and again, I'll be paying it into my 90s. So even there's so many things that are going on right now, like the access to healthcare, right? Which a union, when you're in a union, you get healthcare day one. Like day one, you get access to healthcare. And I think Latinos see in the unions a solution to some of their problems. They have kids, right? Their kids get sick and they can't afford to take them to the doctor because it's so expensive. Obamacare is astronomical. The subsidies went away, and now we have $1,600 premiums. You know, this is something that was meant to help people, and it's being destroyed by the current administration because they want it gone. It's where we are, and I think Latinos see in there a solution. In the unions, they see a solution to some of the problems that we face every day as everyday citizens. We have a lot of distractions in Tallahassee. We're fighting over where people go to the bathroom and the Confederate statues instead of balancing the budget and finding out how to make people's lives better by giving them living wages, making sure that our shores are environmentally shored up in case for the next hurricane that comes, making sure the catastrophic fund is shored up. The Zandisky Fund for Affordable Housing is being reappropriated. Instead of going to affordable housing, it's going to other projects. I mean, who's in charge? And where are the adults in the room? Your tax dollars right now, every time they go to special session, your tax dollars are being spent. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, you should be calling your representative and asking them this question. Why didn't you do the budget during session? Why are you doing it now?
I think they were going for a record number of special sessions this year, just to see how they could possibly do it. It's like, finish the job in the 60 days you're told to, because that's all you're supposed to be getting paid for is that $26,000 to show up every day for 60 days and do that part. And the rest of the time you spend it with your constituents to find out what they want so that when you get back there, you can actually represent them.
Correct. And what I'm saying to you might not be popular with the party elite and the party loyalists, but it resonates with everyday citizens. It resonates with voters. It resonates with people that are being screwed over and being told that their time's coming. It's coming, and they're left waiting for 30 years of Republican rule in Florida. Because people keep voting for the status quo. People keep voting for what's comfortable. You have to change what we do. There's a future. There's a movement right now and a passing off of the baton. I'm running for office. And I'm telling you right now, they might be able to keep me out. I'm going to fight like hell until the very end and try to get elected. But I'm coming, and more people like me are coming too. I'm not the last one.
Luis, I want to pivot for a moment, because we're talking a lot about the state of politics in Florida and what each side kind of looks at, because we're in a two-party system, and that's what you got. You got two choices, or you can vote for a third choice, but typically one of the two-party candidates wins in 99.9% of races. This issue of the Latino community and Latino outreach and really being the swing vote, if you will, among Florida's demographics for either party. And sometimes it splits. You tend to see Latinos in South Florida go red. You see Latinos in the Bay Area go blue. But there is no homogeneous, monolithic base. Like, yes, in this country, all Latinos are put in a box of Hispanic. But you have multiple communities in Tampa. If you go down Armenia, you got a large Colombian community. You go down Tampa, West Tampa, down Columbus, you got the Cuban community.
Mm-hmm.
Your other parts of the city, you have a Venezuelan community, you have a Mexican community, you got Salvadorans and Guatemalans. There is so many different groups, and in that you can't just hire one person. You can't hire a white looking Latino who speaks Spanish, or maybe even a no sabo kid who makes it through the interview, and think that you're going to win over these voters. And I think that is a major issue because of the complexity of the Latino community. A lot of issues take complex approaches and are complex issues. And the biggest issue that we face as an organization is legalization of cannabis, and how cannabis intersects with what you talked about of 30 years of single party rule in Florida, a tough on crime stance going all the way back to when Charlie Crist was Chain Gang Charlie, rather than, you know, this liberal banner waiver. And so there's a lot to be said about what are the consequences, because even in legal cannabis states, African American, Latino residents and citizens are pulled over and have their cars tossed disproportionately than other Americans. And that is a major concern of people's civil rights. It's a major concern of how people are being treated. And if you're, if you're a legal resident, then legal cannabis isn't even legal for you. You cannot technically be breaking federal law by participating in a state-sanctioned legal medical cannabis program if you don't have citizenship. And I think these are issues that intersect our community that a lot of people don't talk about enough, and we're not addressing in a meaningful way.
No, and it is true. I mean, the people that are affected by this is people that look like me, or people that look like, that are black and brown. Again, living through my experience, my father has carpal tunnel, arthritis. Like, he couldn't even open his hands. They were just balled up. And he'd taken so many pills. In fact, he was taking Oxycontin probably for like 20 years, and they cut him cold turkey because of what happened with Oxycontin in the marketplace, right? And he was left in pain. These are people that have never taken drugs. My parents never took drugs, never experimented, nothing like that. And my cousin, who was partaked in a lot of weed, was like, maybe you should try some THC pills, And he did. And my father went from looking like an old man, crumbled over with a walker, to being able to walk, being able to open his hands. So we have to listen to science. The medicinal purposes of this, and even recreational. Like, what are we doing? Come on. It's the 60% threshold also is a big problem, right? That we have to fix here in Florida. If the last referendum that we had, where the collected petitions, over half the people in this state decided that they would like to legalize recreational marijuana.
Yeah. Well, Ron DeSantis figured out real fast weed is more popular than him. So that's why they're doing everything they can right now to sabotage the petition process itself.
And embezzling money from the Hope scandal. That's a big to kill weed. Instead of giving kids health care, you decided that weed is a bigger problem than healthy children, and funneled money into your programs to pay your friends. Right.
And let's not absolve the attorney general from it either. When he was chief of staff to the governor, he was in the know on all this dirt and corruption that's going on. And if you feel some type of way, come get me, James. I ain't afraid.
Yeah, no. And to be honest with you, think about this. And I see a trend in this. Whenever I see Ootmeyer or Blazing Goliath, I've heard them speak. Their message is, we're doing this to protect children. We're doing this to protect children. Yet they want to take property taxes away and defund programs like the Children's Board, after-school programs, parks, things that help young children develop. Where are you protecting children now?
They don't want to protect children, because if they did, one of their number 2 candidate for governor right now gave a speech just this past week saying when these kids are doing these teen takeovers, the next one, he wants armed men with AR-15s. You talked about the Minutemen in Arizona, and you got James Fishback, who's one of the top candidates for governor on the Republican Party of Florida, wanting to have their own Minutemen here to shoot black teenagers with AR-15s. I mean, that is where we're at right here in Florida. And then you talked earlier about, this idea of fiscal conservatism, but it's not. It's cutting people who don't vote for them's programs, whether it's folks who are union members who work for the government, or folks who are teachers. And these property taxes, yes, it sounds good on paper, but it's going to devastate how much of public services. When the fire department doesn't get there on time and your house burns down, and then your insurance doesn't pay out because you took money from the insurance companies to not regulate them. That's what people in Florida are going to be facing. And then you look at one for clean water, but Mosaic already poisoned the groundwater and didn't say anything about it because they gave some hush money to the folks who run the executive branch and the legislative branch. I mean, that's literally where we're at right now in this state.
It is. And if you pay attention, and I mean, look at both sides, follow the money, see where they're getting paid from, because there's a lot of elected officials in Tallahassee that are great at fundraising and getting reelected, but not very good at legislating. So we need to change that.
Generally, when you change speakership, you expect to see a shift in policy towards the things that involve that particular person. We had a speaker for the last 2 sessions, Daniel Perez. I thought there was going to be more concentration on the things that affect the Hispanic community. I even thought there was going to be more attention being paid to the people in the disability community. I didn't see either of those things occur. And yet I'm certain a lot of people did, feel that they were voting for Daniel Perez because of the fact that he would be looking out for their particular interests. And that makes things difficult for you when you're running as a Hispanic, saying, look at me, I'm a Hispanic, therefore I have your interests in mind.
Listen, we're going to go to Tallahassee and we're not going to be in charge. I'm well aware of that. And when we are elected, we also have to create relationships with the people across the aisle. It is the way forward. The only way government works is with consensus. And we have been dug in our corners and have people that are just so staunch Republican or so staunch Democrat that they refuse to speak to each other. And you know who's hurting? Working class people. So we need to stop looking at each other like two-headed monsters and start talking to each other and start connecting, because I mean, I talk to Republicans all the time. I have to. They are the majority in this state. And when I talk to them as a gay Democrat, I talk to Republicans, they walk away loving me. Okay, because I'm able to connect with them. I'm able to be like, look, I understand where you're coming from because I am living a similar experience to you. And that is not partisan. It is because our government is failing us right now because we're too busy fighting over Confederate statues instead of fixing the issues. You want to know what the top 3 issues I get at the door are? It is homeowners insurance, number 1. Homeowners insurance is the number 1 issue I talk about most at every single door. What's going to happen to property taxes? Number 2. And then a close third is going to be healthcare and education. There's no bathroom bills. There is no Confederate statues. There is nothing else. This is what citizens, voters are concerned about because that's where they're being screwed the most. Their pocketbooks.
I mean, we take it this package of bills that we created over the last 10 years up to Tallahassee to try to fix the current medical cannabis program as it currently stands, because certain things were left out at the very beginning. It should have been there from the very beginning. Like, for one, of course, is employer protections. If you have a medical card because you're using cannabis as a person who needs it for a disabling condition, you want to be the best employee you can be, and so therefore you make yourself well so that you can contribute to your family and things of that sort. What happens when they say, well, you can't have a job because you have a medical cannabis card? It makes no sense where the cure is part of the problem.
Well, listen, right now we are not in any position to tell people not to work. People need work right now. And if it's something like cannabis, which over 50% of the people in this state said should be legalized, they don't have a problem with it. Yet you have the people that are in charge that have millions of dollars, probably $1 billion or more, to be able to fight something like this. Then we need to work from the bottom up again. We need to take control back of our party from the bottom up. Right now, they have no power. They have little to no leadership. And yet we're scared of them. Why? Why are we scared of someone that holds no power, no money, and has done very little for us? We need to take power back. We need to start voting for people differently. We need to start electing people differently. We need to start asking more of our public servant elected officials and making sure they're held accountable to those things. You can't just get elected and go hide in Tallahassee. You need to come back to your district and tell them what you did. Tell them why you are why you should be holding that job. Tell them what resources you're bringing back. Tell them how we're not going to lock up Black and brown kids for weed charges and ruin their future and ruin their possibility to ever get employed, and fighting over these squabbling over these little issues while they're taking our voter rights away while we sleep. We need to wake up to this. This is happening, right?
Well, Luis, Gary, I wanted to ask Luis a question because I know we're running short on time here and we're getting towards the end. Luis, we ask every single candidate that comes on the show running for office, especially in the state house, will they champion certain bills? And you know what I see in other states happening right now. In Vermont, their governor is getting ready to sign a bill that would double their adult use possession limits. In Alabama, they're finally getting medical cannabis products. But we're seeing in states like Kentucky, their governor just issued an executive order expanding medical cannabis access. And in Alaska, lawmakers have sent a cannabis record sealing bill to the governor's desk. So, you know, Gary and I have worked on several bills over the past several years with dozens of lawmakers. But if you want to be in office, we really want to see lawmakers in office championing worker protections. We want people to put an end to medical discrimination where people are getting kicked off the organ transplant list because they're medical marijuana patients. We want to see parental rights protected. We don't want you to lose your kid simply because you're a medical marijuana patient or that's called into question because you utilize medical cannabis. And we want to see some type of restorative justice where, you know, if it's going to be legal in this state, and then why are people still sitting in jail? And why are people prevented from going to work because they have a criminal record? So will you champion those policies if you're elected?
I would gladly champion for those policies. And also, if we want to have those policies being enacted, we need to start voting for younger people. It is time for a new generation to step up. It is time for a new generation with the foresight of what's our future can look like if we have something better and something different can look like. So I highly encourage people to think about that when they go to the ballot box. It is in my race in particular, you're going to hear a lot about experience. And experience has got us to where we are right now. And I don't know about you, but I'm not in a good place.
Oh, Gary, you're still on mute, my friend.
You're mute.
Unmute you. There you go.
Yeah. Sorry. I was using my dulces over here, and I apologize. But it is good to see somebody who active from the neighborhood, so to speak, and working to correct the situations that occur in that particular district. Because I don't think your district had the proper representation during that period of time. And with all due respect to Susie, I don't think she was welcomed with open arms by the other party as much as she wanted to be. And she could not accomplish as much as she wanted to in that last term. So I hope that at this point in time, the door will be open for some normalcy and to get back to a representative government for your district.
Exactly. And you know, I'm going to be painted as a radical liberal, but I'm not. I'm literally a person in my neighborhood that sees what's happening at the ground level, and I see how people are hurting, and I see how people are hungry, and I worked my entire life and dedicated it to helping people find resources so that doesn't affect them anymore, so their kids can go to school not hungry, so their kids can have backpacks. So we need to bring that back. We need to start caring about the people in our communities and not the major donors and lobbyists.
Now, one question we ask almost every Hispanic person who comes on the show here, and it's just like semi-important to some people, but not necessarily to others. Cuban sandwiches, should they have salami or not have salami?
Well, one of the good things about being Mexican is we don't have Cuban sandwiches. We have tortas, so I'd go with that answer on top of them all.
Very
I'm a
diplomatic.
pizza
Well
man
said,
myself.
Louis. Very diplomatic. So, well, you know, Luis, how can people get in touch with your campaign? How can they support? Where can folks get directed to so they can connect and uplift your candidacy?
Absolutely. So you can find me on all the socials. We are even on TikTok at Vote for Luis FL. And you can also email us at info@voteforluis.com. We are always looking for partnerships. We're going to be doing a drive with Metropolitan Ministries coming up here in a week or two, because it's about giving back. And I want everybody to know that I'm not going to get money from any of the big dogs, any lobbyists or anything like that. They're not interested in me. But we do have over 700 individual donations that we have gained in this campaign to get us to where we are now. And unfortunately, in Florida, you're not considered viable unless there's a big dollar sign next to your name. So if you can contribute $5, $10, $20, whatever you can, I would greatly appreciate it, because we do need a change in Florida. It's coming. Like I said, it might not be with me, but there's more people like me coming from the back, and we are ready for something different and to end the chaos in which we are living right now, created by both parties.
Well said, man. Well, we appreciate you joining us on the rotation. You know, after this primary is over, I'd love to invite you back on, and we can talk about, you know, what's next. So thanks a bunch.
Absolutely. Thank
Gary,
you so much. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Gary, with all that, brother, I think it is time for the normal news. Well, look, at the top of the news, I think there is some important headlines to talk about, and we did talk about it a little bit just now. But in Vermont, lawmakers are advancing a bill to the governor that will double their adult use marijuana possession limits. This is something that is awaiting action from Republican Governor Phil Scott. The measure specifically doubles the amount of botanical cannabis, how much flower you can have on you, from 1 ounce to 2 ounce, and or the amount of hashish or concentrates you can have from 5 grams to 10 grams that you can legally purchase and possess. Under the current law, possessing up to 1 ounce of cannabis is legal, but possessing between 1 and 2 ounces is classified as a criminal misdemeanor, punishable by up to 6 months in jail and a $500 fine. In April, Massachusetts lawmakers similarly passed legislation into law doubling the amount of cannabis from 1 to 2 ounces that adults may legally purchase, possess in public, or gift to one another. If this is signed, it'll go into effect July 1st. So, when you legalize in your state, as Gary pointed out, there's always more work to get done. And interesting enough, we see analysis being done by scientists that are showing that opioid overdoses actually decrease following the enactment of marijuana legalization laws, which is why I think it's so important that we see states in the South that have been resistant and that have been bastions of prohibition because of how much the prison industry intersects in those states, like Alabama. And state license sales began this weekend after more than 5 years since lawmakers in Alabama enacted legislation regulating the medical marijuana market. So they finally have licensed dispensaries in Alabama finally selling to patients. For years, the program's rollout had been delayed because of litigation, with regulators at one time suspending the licensing process altogether. And we know that the licensing process in a lot of southern states has been corrupt. It has been one where it's like, well, do you own a senator who can help you along, or do you have enough money to influence the elected officials that are creating the process? They have 12 dispensaries now in Alabama and over 300 registered patients able to access the program. They only have 52 physicians certified to make medical cannabis recommendations, according to the Alabama Board of Medical Examiners. But there is so much that folks can continue to do to advocate in their states. And if you keep pushing, your elected officials, you can continue to push like they've done in Kentucky, where Democratic Governor Andy Beshear took executive action just this week to significantly expand the medical cannabis access for eligible patients. The order that he signed expands the pool of patients eligible to receive medical cannabis recommendations to include those with arthritis, AIDS, ALS, sickle cell, anemia, wasting syndrome, Crohn's disease, fibromyalgia, glaucoma, HIV, Huntington's disease, muscular dystrophy, neuropathic pain disorders, Parkinson's, ulcerative colitis, and any terminal illness. Gary, we've been working for a long time just to get an expansion of symptoms in this state, and we're met with resistance every single time from Florida lawmakers, which is why I'm glad that you continue to have great guests come on this show who want to run for office, both in Florida and at the federal level, because it's going to take a multi-pronged approach. What we're seeing right now with the Trump administration making state legal medical cannabis programs, Schedule 3, and then we're looking at the adult use programs and where they're going to fall into this. We got some administrative law hearings that are coming up, and NORML is fighting for a seat at the table at those hearings. Under the Biden administration, the way the process got salted up by prohibitionist groups, and NORML not even being invited to be at the table is a major concern. But what we're seeing is an interesting trend too, in that the big corporate cannabis players are not actually wanting a seat at the table per se, because this Trump executive order kind of, if they're already part of a big multi-state medical operating dispensary, they're good. Like, they're going to be okay with the way this is all shaken out. But there is still international treaties that have to be abided by. And of course, abiding by treaties is part of our Constitution too. So this whole idea of, hey, forget what this treaty that the United States signed in 1973, saying that we're going to make cannabis illegal across the planet in a lot of ways. That's still in effect, and it would be unconstitutional to tell, the United Nations and all those folks to go take a long walk off a short bridge. So, again, this administration has never had a problem doing that in its history of telling other nations, they don't really care what they think. But there are some constitutional and legal ramifications for all this that still need to be addressed. So when people think that it's a done deal, it is not. And even then, when we do legalize, there's not a done deal for the impacts that close to 90 years of prohibition have had in this country, which is why in Alaska, lawmakers have sent a cannabis record sealing bill to the governor's desk, because people should not be sitting in jail, and people should not be hindered with a criminal record for possessing cannabis, selling cannabis, when it is now legal to possess cannabis, when you have multi-million-dollar and billion-dollar companies selling cannabis. And so Republican Governor Mike Dunleavy, the bill sitting on his desk, and the record sealing is not automatic. Eligible parties are still going to have to file requests, do paperwork to get those records sealed. But there is still a lot of harm that has happened throughout this country, and there's still a lot of harm that needs to be remedied. And so if you're someone who wants to get involved, if you're a lawyer out there, if you're someone who is a bar member and you want to do better by all this, you want to learn more about cannabis, maybe it's an area of legal practice that you want to have. NORML, for over 40 years, has done a legal seminar in the state of Florida in Key West. And that is actually coming up this November. So if you're interested, go to norml.org/Key West, and you can find out more about the NORML Legal Seminar. The lawyers are actually being offered CLEs. So if you need to keep your bar license, to keep your education up to date, you can get CLEs, which is a great opportunity for you as a lawyer. It's a great opportunity for folks to also to connect with some of the OGs at NORML who have been there for over 50 years making it happen. So just check the link in the comments and register. It is November 12th through the 14th in Key West. It's a great time. Many years ago, I was talking to some of the NORML board members the other day. Even Jimmy Buffett had dropped in to the legal seminar and invited the folks there. Rest in peace, Jimmy. But it's a great time to connect with some great folks. And, when we talk about where we are as an organization and where we are with the current legalization across the country. I wrote a recent op-ed that they published in High Times, and I think folks should go check it out. It's important to see that why does normal still matter if we have legal weed in the 21st century? And the answer is simple. Because the job isn't done. From what I just read from the news, like, yes, it's legal in half the states. Yes, we have 41 states now where medical cannabis is legal. Shout out to Georgia for coming to 41st. But what type of legalization can we expect? Like Gary has done for many years, push the bills where people don't get fired from their jobs. And we still have folks that are still getting kicked off organ transplant list or losing their kids. So check out the op-ed in High Times and read a little bit more about why it's important. But most importantly, join us because we need your help. Become a member. Here at Suncoast Normal, your membership goes a long way to supporting our efforts in Tallahassee, to educating these lawmakers. Like, Gary and I and Carlos and all of our folks here at the Suncoast Normal board are educating them while they're candidates. But once they're in office, we need to go up there and help push these bills. We need to go up there and continue to testify and educate lawmakers on some of the bad bills that they got coming down the pipeline. And of course, we can't do that without your support. So we ask you to go ahead and donate if you can, become a member. Every dollar counts. One of the things that I've seen is that when we had a total prohibition as an organization, we could thrive. And as folks are able to get access to legal cannabis, they wonder why it's important. Well, again, because legal access isn't fully accessible for everybody. And then what type of access are we getting? Are we getting bad shit sprayed on our medicines? Where's the consumer protection? Are you getting okie doked by a multi-state operator selling you Delta 9 hemp-derived cannabinoids that you could get at any gas station or you can get at a hemp shop, and they're charging you medical marijuana prices for them? So truth in labeling is something that we got to continue to fight for. And you can support us by hitting that like and subscribe button, joining us on YouTube each and every week. We deal with shadow banning on social media all the time. At least once a week, Facebook says our page isn't recommended. I have to file an appeal. We always seem to win the appeal. But we've even had our Instagram shut down after a decade. So we got a new Instagram account. It's the same, just has a underscore between Suncoast and Normal. Because the other one got deactivated. So, we are still fighting against the powers that be who do not want this. And if you want to take action, you can always visit normal.org. Check out ACT in your various states, in your community. If you don't have a Normal chapter near you, you can go online and start one by reaching out. Or you can contact your lawmakers as well, your members of Congress. Tell them to support the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act, House Resolution 5068. We were up in May, just up there with Unity Week with Students for Sensible Drug Policy, Drug Policy Alliance, Latino Cannabis Alliance, Last Prisoner Project, Beard Bro Farms. Shout out to all the great orgs. I know I probably missed some. Don't take it personal, but there's so many folks that showed up for Unity Week, engaged in hundreds of lawmakers' offices and trying to continue to push this and make it happen. So, we're in a good spot, but the fight's not over. And so don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and touch base with us. Gary, back over to you, brother.
Yeah, I mean we've been playing at this for well over 40 some odd years. You got to remember that when we had the Controlled Substance Act that first occurred in 1970 rather, our Congress jumped into action to try to do what they could to fix the situation. And it's taken this long, and we haven't gotten any farther in all those years. And it is politics that got us into this mess. It'll have to be politics to get us out. We've been dealing with racism. We've been dealing with anti-unionism and all sorts of things, and trying to make that mesh with the anti-cannabis movement. It's not going to happen. We're going to still keep on fighting, and we cannot offer you a tote bag for joining cannabis. We're not NPR. But we're not going to give you a stuffed animal or a blanket, but we will give you a chance to be a part of the solution. And that's what needs to be done. We need to fight as a group to get these things done. We have medical cannabis, but the program is not working entirely the way it should be. That's why trappers are still out there getting their job done, because of the fact that we haven't gotten our job done. So we need to go ahead and we need you to join us and be part of the solution. And we'll keep on bringing up the politicians, because they're going to have to be the ones that make the policy that will help make this work. So listen in. We got more candidates coming over the next couple of weeks as we head towards the primary, which is not too far away now. And don't forget, you have to make certain you're registered to vote. And if you are want to vote by mail, make certain you apply for a vote by mail ballot, because they wiped out the other ones. So if you're expecting one to come, it's not going to come.
That's a good point. Yeah, every election now you have to sign up to vote by mail in Florida, and also make sure you're registered to vote at your right polling place. So if you moved, if you got changed your lease, you got a new apartment, go update your voter registration. If you live in the Bay Area, Hillsborough County, you can go down to County Center, the Supervisor of Elections, or you can go to the Election Center on Falkenberg out there in Brandon, and of course update your information there personally. But they're not making it easier to vote, because they see the writing on the wall. They see that a majority of voters want legal cannabis. So they're going to do everything they can to make it harder for you to vote. They're going to do everything they can to make it harder for you to want to get a petition signed to put it on the ballot, which is why you need millions of dollars to try and run a ballot campaign. It's 10 cents a petition just to validate them. You got to turn in, they're throwing out upwards of 50% of petitions that are signed. So also when you sign a petition, make sure you date it. Make sure you put your signature on it. It's not enough just to fill in your info. Make sure that you're completing it entirely. And then they're also throwing out double petitions. So keep track and remember if you signed one. Make yourself a note if you got to. But they're doing everything they can to make sure you don't have safe and affordable access. And that's where we come in as your consumer protection organization, your consumer protection lobby. We're going to keep fighting to make sure you have safe, quality, affordable access to medical cannabis, and that no one gets left behind and arrested for possessing or utilizing it in a responsible way.
And by the way, when you get to the ballot this year and you don't see a recreational ballot initiative on there, there's a reason for that. They fought and they won, which means that if we can't get it done with a ballot initiative, we got to go back to the legislature and get them to do it. And that's going to be a tough haul, but we want you involved. And if we can't do it one way, we'll do it the other way, and we need you. And with that, I think it's time to call it a day so you can enjoy John Carlos's birthday.
Yeah. Well, I'm proud to see my son thriving, and I'm going to go celebrate with him and enjoy his birthday. But I appreciate all the hard work, Gary, that you put in, that so many of our board members and volunteers have put into this org, and we're not stopping. We're going to keep fighting until we have a real victory, and we can be proud of that victory. So with that being said, we'll catch y'all in the rotation soon.
Peace out.